Hey you, with the face and skin who's watching this video right now, did you know that Cardo is currently running a flash sale over on their website where you can get 15% off a Pack Talk Pro? That is the deepest discount they have offered on this thing yet, and you can get 25% off everything else in the store. That only lasts for a few more hours though, so get in while you can.
And now for something completely different.
I am currently breaking all the rules. I'm not supposed to be standing here, but I'm gonna do it anyway because I need to shoot an intro somewhere kind of quiet. And that makes it all the funnier that I'm standing right beneath a speaker that's playing music. But regardless, we're gonna power through. Welcome to AIMExpo. And you can see all around me the giant South Hall of the Las Vegas Convention Center, which is filled with all things power sports, not just motorcycles and motorcycle manufacturers, but all kinds of aftermarket stuff too. So we're gonna take a look at all of the new stuff coming out for 2025, and we're going to demystify the motorcycle trade show experience because this place, it's not actually open to the public. So everything that you're going to see, it's a secret. You're not supposed to be able to look behind the curtain, but they let me in with a camera for some reason because I got a media badge, that's why. And our first stop is going to be right over at the Suzuki booth because there are two motorcycles that I absolutely dunked on a little while back, and they actually have them at the booth, so let's go check it out. DRZ 400 SM, the new one, or DRZ 4 SM. Was just talking to some folks here in the booth about some of the stuff that's changed, what we can expect to see here. And this one, actually, I was just looking at the tires. This was one of the ones they were using for the promo videos. This thing has been beaten up and worn in pretty good. So that's a good sign because they're not exactly gonna break them in for a video. So if they were just wailing on it, hopefully that means good things. It's cool to be standing next to it because I'm seeing a lot of stuff that's very similar from the original DRZ. A lot of the architecture's the same, but there's things that look like they might be there from the old bike where you can just be like, oh, I'm gonna slap my case savers on there from the old one, the Thumper Talk case savers. I don't think you're gonna be able to get that on there. The shape of the cases are different. Some of the bolts are in the same place, but they're going into different things. I will say the dashboard, this one's gonna be a minor upgrade, feels more like a mid-year upgrade, but the old one was from the 90s, so. This white one right here does have some factory options. It's got a 12-volt power adapter, it's got the tail rack, and it looks okay. You're gonna see some better stuff in the aftermarket for sure. The one thing I'm not seeing though is these two bolts to hold the toolkit down on the back like the old ones. So we only have one bolt hole. Not sure if it's gonna be nearly as strong for those guys carrying like roto packs and stuff. However, looking at the front end of both the S and the SM, I did get confirmation that the shape of the front end is the same on both of these motorcycles. So that means you could just go and grab the S rims and put them on your SM. There are going to be some issues, stuff like the ABS functions differently between the bikes, the modes functions differently, the traction control functions differently, the spring rates are going to be different. But honestly, for somebody like me who runs a bike off-road occasionally, but is looking more for a supermoto, it means you could start with the SM, get the better brakes, and then slap your S rims on there, no problem. So that's actually really cool to see. That was one of the things that people loved about the original DRZ, and it definitely feels like it's back here. So I'm gonna try to get my hands on one. Maybe Suzuki will be nice enough after I said some less than nice things about the DRZ when I had my knee-jerk reaction to it. The only thing we don't know is A, when it's gonna hit dealerships. In theory, probably beginning of summer, and B, we do not know the price yet.
Oh, what an innocent time 3 weeks ago was. That dumb idiot had hope. We now know that the DRZ4S and SM are both priced at $89.99 with a $600 destination charge that is mandatory. All that before you start factoring in setup and local taxes, which here in Austin is 6.25% on the total. So let's factor in a conservative $200 in dealer fees, $75 in registration. That puts the out the door at $10,491.13.
Oh, the humanity!
Are you gonna pay that for a new DRZ4 SM when you could get a new KTM Husky or Gas on clearance for a few grand more, or a used 450 RL for less, or a used DRZ 400 SM in good shape for less than half that number. I know I'm not, and I already put my money where my mouth is on that one.
I really want it to succeed. I really do. And who knows? Maybe I'll put a DRZ in my garage again. That'd be fun. Now you may notice that this is not exactly the pristine audio environment that I normally like to shoot in. We're here in a giant trade show hall with hundreds, if not 1,000 people all milling around having their own conversations. There's music in the background, bikes doing their thing, so it is going to be a little bit noisy, as you heard in the Suzuki booth. But let's move on to the next one, which is less interesting because of the bikes that are there and more interesting because of the backstory. So despite everything going on in KTM world, they're actually here. They only have 4 motorcycles. One of them can't touch. That's the Super Hooligans bike right there. But they also have a couple of models. They got their free ride, they got the 890 Adventure, and they got some other dirt bike. No 390s, nothing new, just kind of the same footprint that you would expect from when the show was a lot smaller. But I want to show you something kind of interesting. Right behind the KTM booth here is the MV Agusta booth. So my guess is what happened is they bought this booth space a long time ago, before KTM ended up dumping MV Agusta, because they're right in the middle of the Kiska Pavilion, because you got Gas and you got Husqvarna over there. But then you've got MV right here as the odd man out. Kind of feels a little bit like the two spouses in a divorce that have to share the same bed because they haven't been able to move out yet. So little bit funny seeing them right behind. However, there is one cool bike I did want to show you guys. That right there is the Svartpillen, or the Vitpillen. They're Svarts right there. They've got the Vitpillen 801 here, and this thing actually looks really cool. They've taken a lot of the styling of the littler bikes, but they've beefed it up, made it look more muscly, a little bit more future-y too. They took everything that I liked about the Svart and the Vitpillen styling, and they just made it bigger. This would be a really fun naked bike. It does feel small though. Standing next to it, it seems like the seat height is really low. It seems like the tank wings do the thing where they're gonna bully the top of my legs out for space, but man, does this thing look so cool. Next door to the KTM booth, you got the Honda booth, and since this is a dealership trade show and Honda doesn't have to like sell themselves to a dealership, they're like, we're Honda. You know what we're all about. Their footprint's pretty small. The coolest thing they got right there is they've got their e-clutch models. So it's nice to see, but again, we don't have the non-e-clutch 650s anymore, so they're kind of just showing off the 650. Oh, but Spite, we need to see the R9. We want to see the R9. Show me the R9. All right, there it is. It's right there. Found the R9. Jokes aside, this is one I definitely want to check out on a racetrack because it looks like a lot of fun. And unlike all the people online, I dig those wings. Other than that, I mean, it's blue and it's an R bike and it's got an MT-09 motor in it. Now here's something fun. The R1 has these detachable wings on there. So if you don't like the wings, you can remove them. Or more likely what's going to happen is you're going to have a whoopsie daisy in your driveway and you're going to smash one of them up and then cry because I bet you that's $1,000 worth of carbon fiber. Definitely me not taking notes for a potential Pan America track bike build. That's not what's happening here. All right, so one of the things that you might not expect, or maybe you wouldn't think about, is there's going to be a bunch of electric bikes here, and this is the first year I've seen a collection of Sur-Ron, Talaria, E-Ride Pro, all the brands people think about when you think about the little 72 volt offerings. But we're here at the Zero booth, and they have their XE, their new little dirt bike offering here. This thing is not street legal here in the States. Actually, it is in Europe. So it's got a full 17-digit VIN, and it's actually got Zero's factory support. You can go take this thing to a dealership and get it serviced. And I think that's actually one of the things that has me the most excited about this, is because as someone who has experience with the Sur-Ron platform, with other 72 volt buy it and it ships to your house in a crate and you have to assemble it bikes, is sure, they claim you have support, but you kind of need to be an electrical engineer if you want to fix this thing. So you can actually take this to a dealership and get it worked on. And one of the nice things that I'm seeing here is we've got actual motorcycle hardware. And there's other brands like the Super Mach that I was just looking at over at their booth. And it is about the same size. It's got more power, sure, but right now their dealership network is small. And these guys are an established brand, and that actually has me super excited to get my hands on one of these, because I've had a ton of fun on these electric dirt bikes, and this is actually the first time we've seen a major electric bike manufacturer acknowledge this market segment. This market segment has been on fire. You cannot be on YouTube without running into people doing Grom Squad stuff. Like you've got Suronster out there with gajillions of views, all goofing around on bikes like this, because they're fun, they're accessible, and they're so maintenance free. And that has me very excited to see Zero do something here. Everybody who knows the work that I've done knows that I have a contentious relationship with Zero, going back to the Yami Noob days. Even now, I'm not one of the biggest fans of Zero's street bikes. I find them a little bit muted, a little tame, a little bit linear, a little bit like they're designed by an electrical engineer and not a motorcycle engineer. Whereas this, I don't care, because this is just, all I want is super linear power. I want it to have hot swappable batteries. I want all of that stuff, and here it is for like $6,500, which is cheaper than the Super Mach. It's a little bit more expensive than the Suron, but when you think about it, most of those Surons, you gotta dump $3,000 into them anyway. So just get this guy, right? Found myself the Royal Enfield booth here, and I gotta say, one thing that Royal Enfield does more than any of the other manufacturers is just give you a bike that looks really freaking cool. Because there's this little 350 right here. Tell me that thing doesn't look like a custom motorcycle. I mean, all the way down to red rims and white wall tires. It's kind of amazing what you can get a motorcycle to look like when you're just using so much of the same stuff on a lot of your different bikes, and you can just make something really cool and affordable. These definitely do feel like the Sportsters from Harley, the old air-cooled ones, but affordable. There is one weird thing though that I want to show you. So this is the Himalayan right here, the new 450, and why did the brake line come down, go through a 180 and then out the other side? Most folks would have just had a direct line down, but I don't know, maybe it has something to do with the ABS unit. That just feels real weird to me. Feels like at one point they wanted to have dual discs on it, and then they were just like, nah, get rid of one of them and just do this 180 thing. Might not make any sense to me, but I don't know. I'm not an engineer, but I do know this thing's pretty sweet. The Gorilla 450 right here, this is their scrambler based on the Himalayan 450 platform, and it is a very nice looking bike that looks like it's aimed more or less directly at the Ducati Scrambler. I would like to get my hands on some of these to try them out, but I gotta say, just looking at them and feeling them and touching them with my grubby meat mittens, they feel good. So we wandered over to the Benelli, Benda, and Kiwi booth here, and there's some interesting cruisers right here that are coming first time in the US. This right here is the Chinchilla. Not 100% sold on that title yet, but this is a little 300cc V-twin cruiser that I think the list price is like $5,000, $4,500. But check this one out here on the end. This is the Napoleon. This is the 500cc version, and it's a bobber style with a wild custom looking front end. And I think this is just going to show that these smaller brands are trying to just do more wild stuff with styling. This is $6,400, so we'll have to see what absorption looks like at the dealer level and whether or not these actually get taken out. A lot of people are slow to adopt the bikes from smaller names, but this bike looks freaking sweet. So I think a lot of people who are looking at something like a Scout Bobber, but they're not ready for that kind of power, are going to look at something like this Napoleon here, because I got to admit, it looks pretty sweet. I think they overdid it on the wrinkling though. Like they've got the wrinkle black thing that Harley does on their engines on the frames, and it's a little bit over wrinkled. Small complaint though. Gotta see if I can score one and take it out for a ride, because it looks like a lot of fun. Now, as far as booths go, one of the most impressive here by far goes to Moto Morini. They've got the most bikes here out of anyone other than Suzuki, or maybe the Benelli booth. This one's got a big footprint, and they've got some really cool bikes, because now they don't just have the 650s. They've got a whole bunch of other options, including big old V-twins, baby. That right there is the X-Cape with the V2 Corsa Corta motor. 1200 cc's worth of affordable V-twin power, and an actually pretty buttoned up look. You cannot fault the Moto Morinis in terms of their production quality, and what we've got here in terms of hardware is actually even better, because we've got Brembo hydraulic clutch and Brembo gear for the brakes. However, is that the most attractive front end on a motorcycle? Not sure. It's a little bit stubby and a little bit like it's an angry cat. Maybe you want to get yourself a Multistrada V2, but you don't got Multistrada V2 money. Well, this isn't Multistrada V2 red right here. This thing is coming in strong for that sort of Italian-inspired V-twin sport touring bike, and it's loaded up with everything that you'd want. You've got a nice V-twin instead of the same old parallel twin that you see in a lot of these Chinese-built motorcycles, that Kawasaki 650. You've got Brembo brakes, you've got a nice TFT dash, you've got a bunch of really good hardware, and an affordable price point. I think once Moto Morini starts getting more adaptation and adoption at the dealer level, and people start feeling a little less nervous about made-up reliability problems, then we're going to see these all over the place. Because this bike here, unlike the 1200s, this thing looks sweet. One thing that's fun on this, and harkening back to the old Italian bikes, this feels like it's right off of my Tuono. You've got the old dry sump sight glass for the oil tank. That's going to mess some people up initially, because having a dry sump oil tank is a little bit different than a lot of people are used to, but it's fun. It definitely feels like an Italian motorcycle. It looks like I'm standing next to an Italian bike. It feels like I'm touching an Italian bike. This is, I think, what a lot of people want the X-Cape to be. This looks like it's going to be light and fun and fast, and I'm going to try to get my hands on one of these, because this actually has me excited. Now that we've taken a look at a bunch of the cool bikes that they have here, and I've gotten to touch and feel a lot of them, it's time to touch and feel all sorts of aftermarket gear. So we're going to just start wandering around and seeing if we can't make expensive components fall out of the sky that we can install on some of my motorcycles. Just kidding. No, let's go take a look at some cool stuff. Alrighty, folks, you're going to have to forgive me for some less than stellar audio, but this is the last day of the show. I was spending all day yesterday looking at bikes, and now I'm spending some time looking at tech, and I found IC helmets, Intelligent Cranium helmets, and they have a seriously cool, fully featured intelligent smart helmet that's got cameras, it's got blind spot radar, it's got all sorts of features, and it's scalable. I'm going to be taking a look at this later on down the line, because when I made that last smart helmet video, a lot of people were upset that that wasn't truly a smart helmet. It just had an integrated comm system. This thing, it's got everything. So stay tuned, because I'm definitely going to be covering this piece of tech. And now we're back in the office, and I'm actually editing the video that you're currently watching in the background. And I know some people are going to ask a few questions. First of all, why didn't you show off more tech? Well, first of all, a lot of the tech there was kind of gimmicky, I'm not gonna lie. The sort of thing that, no, that's neat, but it's not something you'd actually use. The tech that was there that I recommend, they already sponsor the channels, because believe it or not, I actually spend a lot of time researching and picking the
brands that I work with very carefully. Really, IC Helmets was the only one where I looked at the stuff they were showing off and went, whoa, now we have something really cool. And I'm actually trying to get in touch with IC right now to see if I can get my hands on one of their helmets to show you guys, because I didn't mention it in the video, but what makes the IC helmet so special is the fact that it starts at $650, which was the same price that the Mach 5 Commander was. I think it's more expensive now, but the IC starts at $650, and that includes the heads-up display. It includes a bunch of other stuff, but if you want to add the cameras in, you can. If you want to add some of the other features in, you can. You can scale the helmet as you go. You don't have to drop $2,000 on a fully fitted helmet if you don't want to. That is very cool, and it solves so many of the issues with a lot of smart helmets. The second question is, why aren't I allowed to go to AIMExpo? Honestly, it would be very boring for the general public. There's really not a lot going on there. This dealer show is designed specifically for brands to market to dealerships or to shops. For example, we had Turn 14, which is one of the largest distributors of motorcycle apparel. You've got Speed and Strength. They also have Pro Taper, some V-Twin Power brand. You can't buy from Turn 14. You are buying from Turn 14 when you buy Speed and Strength from somebody else, but they're a distributor. You don't buy from a distributor. You would have a better experience checking out the DRZ4 SM at a demo day because you can actually ride it instead of just poking it with your finger. Should you go to a motorcycle trade show? I mean, if you want, you can probably get yourself set up with a media badge, but it's really not all that exciting, to be honest. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this look behind the scenes. AIM was really interesting for me to go to because I got a whole bunch of new contacts, like folks at Continental Tires and the people at IC Helmets. So expect some cool new content to come from all of that stuff. And in the meantime, catch you guys in the next one. See you later.